Here's your lightly paraphrased version of the script, keeping the tone, style, and structure the same, just adjusting phrasing and word order subtly. The Seven Years' War stands as the first global conflict in recorded history, a worldwide contest for dominance between Britain and France along with their respective allies. The war was fought primarily in North America and Europe, but also spanned into India, Africa, the Caribbean, and the oceans. The conflict first erupted in North America in 1754, marking the beginning of what's also known as the French and Indian War, a 9-year campaign that eventually eliminated France as a land power in the Americas. By the 1750s, France had laid claim to Canada and the Great Lakes region, while Britain retained control over its 13 colonies along the Atlantic coast. Tensions soon escalated in the frontier zone surrounding the upper Ohio River Valley, as British, French, and Native American forces all vied for influence. The war was formally triggered when a young George Washington delivered a British warning to the French to vacate the area around modern-day Pittsburgh, an ultimatum the French refused. In the early stages of the war, the French, supported by their Native American allies, held the advantage. However, the British began to shift the momentum in their favor, beginning with the capture of Louisbourg in 1758, followed by Quebec City, and finally Montreal. A crucial factor in Britain's success during the French and Indian War was the superiority of the Royal Navy, which effectively blockaded French reinforcements from reaching the colonies. Meanwhile, Britain also seized several French colonial possessions, including Guadeloupe, Martinique, West African holdings, and Pondicherry in India, which was captured in 1761. In Europe, the war stemmed from the growing rivalry between Prussia, which sought increased power, and Austria, a historic influence in Central Europe and over the German states. The European phase of the conflict was sparked by the Austrian Habsburgs' ambition to reclaim Silesia, a wealthy region taken by Prussia during the War of the Austrian Succession. At the same time, France made plans to strike Hanover, whose Prince-Elector also happened to be the King of Britain. In response, Britain signed a treaty with Prussia, agreeing to defend Hanover. This led to a surprising turn of events known as the Diplomatic Revolution, where France allied with its traditional enemy Austria, along with Russia, concerned about Prussian expansion, and eventually Spain. Frederick the Great of Prussia, a brilliant tactician, launched the European conflict by invading Saxony in 1756, followed by a failed siege of Prague. Although France initially achieved some military success against Hanover, it was unable to maintain dominance over the territory. On the Eastern Front, Prussia endured fierce assaults from both Austria and Russia, though at a significant cost. Everything changed in 1762 when Russian Empress Elizabeth died. Her successor, unwilling to continue the war against Prussia, promptly signed a peace treaty, easing pressure on Frederick's forces. To the west, Spain entered the war in alliance with France to challenge British supremacy. However, their attempted invasion of Portugal, a British ally, resulted in a decisive defeat for both Spain and France. In addition, Spain saw its colonial possessions in Cuba, Manila, and the Philippines fall into British hands. The 7 Years' War claimed the lives of over 1 million people globally and concluded with 2 significant peace treaties. The Treaty of Hubertusburg compelled Austria to officially cede Silesia to Prussia, solidifying Prussia's emergence as a major European power. Austria, although weakened, salvaged some dignity by reclaiming Saxony. Meanwhile, the 1763 Treaty of Paris formally ended the French and Indian War in the Americas, sealing a British victory. France was stripped of nearly all its colonial territories, retaining only Pondicherry, select Caribbean islands, and Senegal. Its dominance in Europe was effectively curbed until the French Revolution and the subsequent rise of Napoleon. As part of the treaty, Spain regained control of Cuba and Manila, but had to trade Louisiana to France, which in turn handed it over to Britain in exchange for Florida. Britain emerged with Canada and Florida, successfully removing its European adversaries from North America and earning recognition as the world's foremost power and naval force. To recover from the enormous debt incurred during the war, Britain looked to impose heavy taxes on its American colonies, sparking widespread unrest and planting the early seeds of the American War of Independence. Ironically, France, still reeling from its defeat, would later support the American revolutionaries against Britain in a bid for revenge. Let me know if you'd like this formatted for a voiceover, subtitles, or turned into a YouTube description or post.